Hello, today we are in Unit 2, Linear Equations and Inequalities, and we are going at the bottom of the home page. This is the assignment for today, Introduction to Inequality. So please click on that. Okay, here's the assignment, but make sure if you need translations, please go ahead and open this one up. It not only has the translations, but it has also information. But remember, to make a translation, file, make a copy, and then after you make a copy, then you can go here and do translate, okay? All right, so the first thing I want you to do is to make sure that you read this first page. And there's something that even if you're doing this, if you don't need a translation or not, it's still very important to make sure that you go over this right here. Okay, so the first thing is this important notes is to look at this one here. And the first thing I want you to know is that solving an inequality is the same process as solving an equation, but instead of finding out what a variable like x equals, you find out what it is greater or less than. So I want you to look at these examples, okay? The first one here is a really basic equation, x plus 3 equals 7. So you know that you would subtract 3 from both sides and x would equal 4. And that's the only solution that would make that true. That's the only number, 4, that would, when you add it to 3, would equal 7. One solution. In inequality, the same process. We still subtract 3 from both sides so we can get x by itself. But now we get x is greater than 4. So that could be numbers like 5, 6, 7, 8, a million numbers, right? But as long as they're bigger than 4, so again, it's the same process. Subtract 3 minus 3 minus 3. Same process, right? But when it is an equation, one solution, right? Equation, one solution. When it's an inequality, many solutions, okay? So that's the difference, but the process is the same, okay? So here is the first question. So let me go back to the assignment and go ahead and open it in Kami, okay? Okay, the first question we get is question number 1. What's the least or smallest solution for x if you have this inequality? So make sure you go back and you do the translation, okay? Make sure you translate that so you understand least, especially least smallest, okay? All right, so how do we do this? So when we look at this problem here, I want you to know that there are two strategies for getting the correct answer to this question. The first one says we can solve for x, like I showed you above, right? We can solve for x. X is greater than something. For example, this one here says x is greater than 4. Or we can substitute values from the answer choices to see which is the smallest that makes the inequality true. So make sure you translate this if you need to, and also translate this. Okay, so I'm going to show the first option. Okay, so the first option is to actually just go ahead and solve for x, or isolate it, right? And like I said before, it's the same process. So we need to combine like terms. Let me go ahead and make sure my pen's working. So we want to get x by itself, so we subtract 43, right? Minus 43 from both sides. And that tells us that x is greater than, what's that, 26, right? So that would be how we solve it. And then we're looking for the smallest solution, or the least solution. So that's the smallest number. But it still has to be greater than 26. Is 25 greater than 26? No. Is 26 greater? No, it's equal, but it's not greater. Is 27? Yes, so that's a solution. 28? Yes, but we're looking for the smallest, so we're going to pick choice C, okay? So that's the first way to do it. Now the next way to do it is we could try choices to see what gives us a true statement. What do I mean by that? So let's try 25. So what I would do is I go 25, and I take this over here, plus for x, right? I'd put 25 in for x. So instead of x, I write 25 plus 43. Is that greater than 69? Well, if I use my calculator, I'm going to get 68. Is that greater than 69? Question mark? No, that's not. So that's wrong. So then I'm going to try 26 over here, and then I'm going to get 26 instead of x plus 43. Is that greater than 69? Well, that actually is 69. So it's equal, but it's not greater. So then that's gone. And then I try 27, and if I do 27 plus 43, is that greater than 69? Well, this would together be 70. Is that greater than 69? Yes. Okay, so that's a solution. And it's also 28 should work if 27 works, but since that's the smallest, I can pick that. So that's what it means to try choices and substitute them in from here to there. So choice C, okay? So now we're going to do number 2. Let me move this over a little bit. So I'm going to, again, we can do the same thing again. We can do either one strategy, solve for x. So I'm going to do that first, and then I'll do the substitution later to confirm it. Okay, so here, now we have two terms, right? So first we do plus 12. We combine like terms on both sides, and we get 10x is less than or equal to 270. Then we divide by 10, right? Cancel, divide by 10. So x is less than or equal to, if we do this in our calculator, 27. Okay? So that's a solution. So now we need to find out which one is less than or equal to 27. 27, is that less than or equal? Yes. Is 28 less than or equal? No. 29? No. 30? Okay, well, this is easy. So this one's 27. Okay? Now, if we wanted, we could try choices over here, and we could go 10 times, and then we could put 27, we could try 27, and that would be 270 minus 12. Is that less than or equal to 258? If we do this on our calculator, this is 258. Is that less than or equal to 258? It's equal, so that's okay, right? And then if we tried 28, this would not be true. Okay, so remember, we can substitute. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to try question number 3. So this one here, make sure you translate, right? We did a question like this in Amplify, okay? But make sure you read this and translate, okay? So the first thing it says is that it takes 20 minutes to prepare an order and 5 minutes to drive each mile. So that means when you prepare an order, this only happens one time. 20 minutes, only one time. 5 minutes to drive each mile, every time. Every time you drive a mile, okay? Okay, so it's going to be 5. So this pizza wants to deliver its orders in 55 minutes or less. Remember, or less. So that's going to be, we need to make sure we get that. Okay, so if each mile is X, which inequality represents the situation? So we know it's going to be 20 plus every time they drive a mile, it's going to be 5 times a mile. So that tells us how much time it's going to take if X is the minutes. But it needs to be, and then we know it's going to be 55. So is this going to be greater than 55 or less? Well, we need it to be less, 55 or less. So less is like that. But it says it can be 55 or less. That means it could be less could be 54, it could be 50, it could be 45. Less is okay, but this says it needs to be in 55 or less. So or means smaller or 55. So we got to make it like this, okay? So which one is that? That is going to be B, right? Okay, so that's how you do that kind of problem there. Okay, the next thing is, now that we know this is the correct answer, what is the greatest, the biggest distance it can be delivered? So it is delivered in 55 minutes or less, okay? Again, if you want, we can try answer choices. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to solve it myself. So I'm going to go minus 20, minus 20. So what do we get? We get 5x is less than or equal to, that's 35, okay? Divided by 5, divided by 5, divided by 5. So I'm going to write this over here. So this is going to go bye-bye. We get x is less than or equal to 7, okay? So to me, it's easier to solve it. I can get there right away instead of having to take these numbers and put them in the equation. So x has got to be less than, or it can be equal to 7. So what's the greatest distance? Well, 7 would be okay, right? Can it be 8? No, because 8, is that true? No. So it can't be 8 and anything bigger. So basically, this one's going to be A. But also, if we wanted, we could try 7 in the equation there by substitution, and it would be true. But if we tried 8 in that equation, if you want to try it, go ahead, it would be false, okay? So that's how you do questions 1 through 4. So now that you understand it, make sure you have good notes and you use your notes. And the next thing is to do some practice questions, okay? So here's the practice questions. It's going to be 5 through 16, okay? And then when you're done, come back and make sure you click here and enter your answers into Canvas to get your A for the day, okay? So take good notes so you can use them on your quizzes too, okay? All right, that's the lesson for today.